Rick. Hikers, bikers, dog walkers, and runners. People use Boise's unique trail system for many different reasons, but those trails, well, they can be something we take for granted. And with the winter conditions making many of the trails muddy, using those trails can actually cause long-term damage. And that's why Ridge to Rivers is urging people to avoid those muddy trails. But there are alternatives. News Channel 7's Jude Binkley is at the Harrison Hollow Trailhead right now, where people can still enjoy the trails there.
Well, Joe, we're at Harrison Hollow right now, which is an all-weather trail. Now, that's a trail that doesn't get as muddy as some of the others up in the foothills. And it's also an off-leash trail, so a lot of people up here hiking, walking their dogs. It's a very popular trail, but there are some trails you want to avoid when it gets muddy this time of year to protect the foothills and the generational impact they have.
She needs her exercise, I get mine, everyone wins.
Whether you use it as exercise for you and your dog,
I'm just super fortunate that I'm not limited to dog parks.
Or a way to socialize with other hikers.
The fact that it's the same as it was when the kids were born, and we get to run into a lot of our friends. So I will quite often meet somebody I know on the trail, and the dog usually meets somebody he knows.
The Boise foothills provide a unique escape from the city that's only a few miles away.
It's just getting out of the city, I guess, is really the biggest thing. You can be out there.
Rich Harris has been running the foothills for the last 30 years. He's the owner of Bandana Running and Walking in Boise and has seen multiple generations be able to share and enjoy the trails.
A lot of those kids, we're seeing the kids, but we saw their parents when their parents were young, before they were married. And everybody runs in the foothills at some point in time.
But with melting snow and rain, many trails get muddy this time of year, and using trails when they're muddy can cause long-term damage.
All the use on it really doesn't go, it tramples the trail tread, it leaves it really, really rough. If you look behind me, it looks like a cattle have been through there. It doesn't ever smooth out throughout the summer on a lot of these trails.
Going on a muddy trail, leaving a footprint, leaving a dog print, then that hardens, and now instead of having a nice smooth trail, you've got this really rough trail.
David Gordon is the Trail Systems Manager for Ridge to Rivers, a partnership between land management agencies that's headed by the city of Boise. They manage over 200 miles of trails in the foothills.
The other issue is people tend to walk to the side of the mud whenever possible, and when they do that, they're trampling the vegetation on the side of the trail. They're creating wider trails, and a wider trail is more prone to erosion.
There's an easy way to tell if a trail is safe to use.
If you're leaving tracks, turn back. So if you look over my shoulder, there's a lot of muddy tracks. You know immediately the conditions are too muddy to use.
But muddy trails don't mean that hikers have to stay inside for the winter.
There's good trails right over here that are not muddy.
Ridge to Rivers maintains all-weather trails that don't get as muddy.
We have so many options for places to run, whether it is a trail, whether it is the Greenbelt. We're very fortunate here.
Runners like Harris have learned that winter is a time to be a little more flexible when planning their routes.
The only reason we have these is because people take care of them.
You're helping preserve it for people, years and decades from now. If we all go up there and beat the heck out of them today, they're not going to be around long. And they're not going to be pleasant to use.
And it looks like we're having a technical issue with Jude out there, but he wanted me to share this with you. Those muddy conditions mostly happen during the winter time, and Gordon, who we just heard from, said that conditions sometimes won't dry out until April. If you're looking to hit the trails this winter, Ridge to Rivers does do their trail condition updates on Facebook, and they also have an interactive map where you can see what current trail conditions are and where they're safe to use. Of course, we'll have a link to that interactive map and everything you need to know in this story at ktvb.com. That should be up here in a little while.